Tung da ga dang da ga dung da da ding tao tung da da dung tang to. Tung da da ding tang tung da da tao tao tung da da ding tang to. Tung da da tao tang tung da da tao tung da ga dung tang tung. Tung da ga dang tam tung da da dang tung di di ding ding tung da ga ding dang da ga dung tung da ga ding dang da ga dung tung da ga ding dang 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 da ga dung dang 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 da ga dung da ga brang.
Hello, hola, hello. Welcome everybody to Documenta 15's online conversation series, Lumbung Contexts. This is the seventh and last episode. My name is Miguel Mendoza. I'm speaking to all of you from Bogota, Colombia. I'm a music and culture journalist, and I'll be moderating this beautiful conversation, this Pacific entanglement. Everybody's over there looking beautiful in here. To the people watching, you can post questions on the YouTube chat and we will address them maybe during the conversation, maybe at the end of the conversation. To start right away, I'll be handing over to the crew over at New Zealand, FAFSWAG. They will do an opening ceremony for us and we will begin and we will start with this shared space. Guys, all yours.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou, ko Jamie Waititi o Ahau. Ko Ahau te kai karakiri tēnei rā. Hi, my name is James Waititi. I'm gender fluid. My pronouns are he, she, they, and ia. I am Māori of Te Whānau Pararaki, Te Whānau Apanui, Te Rarawa and Kapui. Today I will be doing a form of prayer where I will acknowledge the maramataka, the energy of the moon in accordance to my cultural practice. Today there are two contrasting energies at play, and in that we acknowledge the space shared between us. We acknowledge the moon has just returned from the stars with the responses from our ancestors and made a plan for the gods to lay out the journey for the rest of the month. Now I'll be switching to my mother tongue, so if you can get into a space in which you acknowledge your higher self, I will get started. Thank you. Anei ngā tamatea e whakahuri anō nei I te kupo te moana. Kei te huri te kupo te moana he tamatea rā hoki. Kei te huri te kupo te moana heia hākaui. Ko tamatea te nanakia, ko tamatea te kaitoromi, ko tamatea ngā wai erua e rereke ana te rere I roko I te moana. I runga I tēnei rā, I runga I te tikanga o tamatea me maumahara tātou ngā āhuatanga erua e nekeneke ana I wānanga I a tātou. Ko tētai ko FAFSWAG, ko tētai atu ko mamā. Mai I Aotearoa, mai ngā whenua o te kawero āmaki ki te ao whānui. Karanga mai ki te kawero āmaki, ki te wānui a tiriwa. Koe anei o manuhiri e tupi mihi ana kia koutou. Nā ngā toe mana ki e arahia ana I a tātou I runga I te ara tika. Kia kore te ringa taumaha e tupuna ana ki a tātou. Me whai mōhiotanga I raro I te tikanga o te maramataka. I roko I ngā wai erua o tamatea, I roko I ngā rā e whā o tamatea. Ara, o tamatea ai o, ko tingata ngā ki te korikori ki te ore ore. Ko kitea te pāhukahuka moana me ngā ngirutai ko paratiti mai ana I runga I ngā toka. Ko timata te tō whakawaho o ngā ngaru. Ko tamatea ngāna, ko whakaatu he kino kai te harama. Ka kāriki taumaha kia atuatu I te āwhau. E kikorangi I pōuriuri ke waho atu kei waho atu. Ko tamatea kai ariki. Kei te aho ngā tamatea hako he aha. No Hawaii, no Lewenuku, no toi te ruatahi, no haumai tāwhiti. Tainoa ki tamatea tūhaha. E pō whakaututi ngā mahi ko mahia. Kua hoki ngā kaitiaki, kua pāpaku ngā taitimu. Ara ko te tohu te rea, no hopuku te iwi. Kua hoki mai a whiro me ngā whakaututi su anga mātua tīpuna. Ko kitea e rātou e tātou moe e tātou wanga. Ko whakataka e rātou i ngā āhuatanga o tēnei marama kainga. I roa i ngā neke hanga o tamatea, ko tuhia i e nei āhuatanga ki mua i ngā āta. Nā rātou i nānei te tikanga, te whiwhi. Nā rātou o tātou moemoea e whakatūwhiratia i te ao mārama. Kia whai mōhiotanga, kia whai maramatanga tātou. Ka ora tātou i te ao, i te pō, tūturu whakamaua kia tīna.
Tīna.
Oie, huie,
Tai ki e.
Whakalawhalahi atu, my name is Alicia Wilson-Hiti. I'm of Niuean and English whakapapa. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a performance artist and producer based here in Tāmaki Makaurau in Aotearoa.
Talapalapa, my name is Moilanga. I am of Samoan descent. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. I am a performance artist and I am the mother of the House of Kavanakwan.
Good morning, my name is Bernice Filipo. I am Samoan ethnicity. My pronouns are she, her, and I practice performance art. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Mareia. I am of Māori descent. My pronouns are fluid and he, they, she. My practice is digital art and technician.
Talapalapa, my name is Pati Solomona Tairau. I am of Samoan and Tokelauan descent. I am a photographer and performance artist.
Talapalapa, my name is Sonny Nagbo. My pronouns are he, him. I am of Samoan heritage, and my practice is filmmaking, storytelling, and queer activism.
Kia ora, my name is Nahora Ioane. My pronouns are she and her. My arts practice is performing arts, and I am Kokanan Māori descent.
Malolele, my name is Kapaki Heru. I am of Tongan descent. My pronouns are he, him, and my arts practice is design and visual arts.
Talofa, my name is Timothy Haftai Swan. I am Samoan. My pronouns are him, and I am involved in community engagement.
Kia ora again, my name is James, and we are FAFSWAG. Thank you for having us.
That was beautiful, guys. Thank you, and very welcome to the space. Right now, we will pass to Will. He's from Fundación Mareia. He's located in Quibdó, Chocó, in the Pacific coast of Colombia. Hola, Will, bienvenido. Puedes presentarte y a la Fundación Mareia.
Para todos, yo soy Will Ping. Como dice Miguel, hago parte de Fundación Mareia. Es un placer saludarles desde Quibdó, Chocó. Básicamente, Fundación Mareia es una organización feminista que está haciendo activismo desde el feminismo afro y desde artes y toda la parte creativa. Entonces, realmente poder acompañarles en este espacio junto a mi compañera Paula. Bueno, dispuesto para la conversación, dispuesto para tejer con ustedes y dispuesto en poder estar conversando y compartiendo y aprendiendo.
Hello everyone, I am Wilpin from Fundación Mareia in Quibdó, Chocó. We are a feminist activist group and we are very happy to be here with you to weave together this conversation.
Okay, so later Paula from Fundación Mareia as well will join us. and she will stay for the rest of the conversation. We apologize for the delay a bit, but you know how technical issues go. We're ready, we're set, we're here now. And now I'll hand over to Aleja. She's from Más Arte, Más Acción. She will, tell us who she is, what she does with the foundation, and the relationship with Mareia. Hola, Aleja, bienvenida.
Hola Miguel, un gusto saludarte. Muchas gracias. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here. I'm Alejandra Rojas from Fundación Más Arte, Más Acción. We are one of the interlocal lumbung members soon to arrive to Castle for this great assembly of artistic and territorialized processes, no? And I think it's very important to let you know that Más Arte will be one of many, will be one of many of other collectives and organizations that are going to share in Castle our practices, and we have invited to come to Castle all the other collectives from the Pacific, from Buenaventura, Nuki, Quibdó, to come with us and share their practices also in this idea of entanglement, where we have gotten entangled with these processes in many ways, and also connecting them with other networks such as Arts Collaboratory, which has been a very important tool for addressing collaboration, for addressing paradigm shift in our art practice and our economic practice. And Fundación Mareia, I personally know them for like maybe 3 years now. I also studied together with Carmenza, which is another member of Mareia, and I'm a big fan of Mareia, but also in particular of Will as a communicator, of Paula as a woman photographer. And I think their presence in Quibdó is very important. The feminist and activist activity is very important, and we have learned also of their processes, and especially in this moment where we are in a transition in Colombia, we are having elections in the next 20 days, and we might have the first Black woman in vice presidency in Colombia, carrying a very important feminist and gender and sexual diversity agenda. So it is very exciting, and I think that movements like the one that Mareia is carrying or is part of will be are very important for this historical moment happening in Colombia. So just very happy, and I will give this space to Mareia when they invited us to the interlocal lumbung to be part of this space. We wanted to open the space for others that are coming with us to Castle. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Gracias, Aleja. Bye. Now we'll begin with the conversation. I would like to start. I will do, have the same question for both of you. I will start asking Mareia, and then I will ask you guys at FAFSWAG the same, if that's okay. So we all know that both of you guys, both FAFSWAG and Fundación Mareia, as an organizations, are made up of artists. So we want to ask, how do you keep your community engaged? Will, para ti esta pregunta primero, ¿cómo siendo un colectivo artístico y cómo ese trabajo colectivo e individual se conecta con la interacción con las personas de su territorio, las personas blanco-mestizas y los hermanos indígenas y las hermanas indígenas del territorio? ¿Cómo funciona esa dinámica?
Bueno, realmente es muy interesante la pregunta porque estamos situados en el departamento del Chocó y este departamento tiene una característica y es que alrededor del 70% de la población es afrodescendiente y el resto es indígena o blanco mestiza.
Yeah, this is a very interesting question because we are located in Colombia's Choco department, and the population in that department is 70% Afro-Colombian and around 20% indigenous.
Esto hace que evidentemente la práctica se complejice un poco porque las realidades de estas poblaciones son diferentes, pero aún así buscamos las estrategias para poder interactuar y llegar a estas comunidades.
So this makes it the situation more complex for us because we have to find a way to engage these diverse communities, but we try to find strategies by which to do that.
El reto es, obviamente, generar las estrategias para poder llegar, porque las herramientas son pocas en el territorio, pero aún así seguimos creyendo que el arte es la herramienta más poderosa para poder transformar las realidades y las concepciones de vida que tiene cada persona y cada comunidad acá.
So the challenge is to find the right strategies, but we are convinced that art provides the tools to find ways for changing and improving the lives of people in these communities.
Nuestra fundación, nuestra organización básicamente se piensa siempre en el contacto o en la interacción con la comunidad, entonces basamos todas nuestras acciones en torno a estas personas. Los círculos están involucrando a la comunidad, desde los más pequeños hasta los más grandes, para que así podamos siempre estar en una casi que sola comunicación.
All of our strategies are based on keeping in touch with the community. So all of our activities involve direct participation with and from the community. We have circles and other practices that try to keep involved people of all ages in the community.
Bueno, y es importante también mencionar en este caso que las problemáticas que vive el departamento del Chocó son tema de conversación y por ser tema de conversación involucra a toda la comunidad, tanto a los civiles como a las personas naturales. Entonces eso hace que siempre estemos interactuando e involucrando a la comunidad en torno a lo que nosotros estamos haciendo.
And a thing to note is that Choco has many problems or issues, but that they are all a topic of discussion for people in the community. So we make it a point to maintaining conversation with the community.
Okay, thank you. Now over to the crew, FAFSWAG crew. How do you, as a collective made up of artists, how do you keep all your community engaged?
Canada. FAFSWAG started off as like an online platform. We engaged with our community through the internet. But prior to engaging to the community, we had to find our community. As queer artists, we had to find the right audience and the right people to connect with.
Yeah, for a lot of us, it was also a way of finding ourselves, finding placement in the world as well, and finding a form of reflection. And that's where a lot of it started for a lot of us, and finding a family system. And from there, it branched off into recognizing that in others and around our local city, and then regional, and then national, and then oceanic and global. It's it's still growing, but yeah, it's developed. I think that's one.
So,
For the last 10 years, how we kind of engage was creating these kind of spaces as young queer Pacific people that were practicing artists and trying to kind of find people like-minded like ourselves. So we kind of started things that we kind of didn't see growing up here in Aotearoa. So like we're pretty much influenced by like the ballroom culture in America and how they created these systems to kind of create like houses and ballroom cultures about coming together, and FAFSWAG kind of helped bring that here to Aotearoa to kind of like for a place for the young people growing up to kind of see that we kind of created a safe space for them to kind of come to and find families, and I feel like that's a way that we've kind of engaged with our communities in the last 10 years, and it's like an ongoing thing now because we've left ballroom now, like we've given it back to the community, but it's still an ongoing thing, and these like new generations of like these young people that are just building families, and I feel proud that we're kind of the ones that kind of started it for us here in Aotearoa. And yeah.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the FAFSWAG uses art to engage our communities. It's probably one of the other kind of principal mediums that we use to engage with our community, but also it's also important just to give like some context and background that we come from. We're a generation of second immigrant generation of Pacific migrants from different islands on the Pacific who migrated here to Aotearoa, to New Zealand, to basically find a better life for themselves. And coming from that space and that context, we actually are part of the generation that are kind of culturally displaced. And on top of that, being a queer person of color, there's a second layer or second level of displacement. And so many of us grew up in a situation where the culture that we saw as like the identity of New Zealand, it didn't always reflect people like us. And so there was always like a very big political will or desire to like identify where those people come from. And so, you know, a lot of the work we've done in the last 10 years is identifying that community and working collaboratively with them to figure out how we remain connected, how we can collaborate together, what are our issues, what is important to us as people, and also what is our story. Because the other thing is that for many of us, our stories have never been told. And so that was the main kind of motivation behind the platform that we created, which in the beginning was a digital platform. It existed mostly on the internet. And then over time, we came to realize through engaging with our community that we identified, that the thing that people wanted to experience was connection. And so moving away from those digital platforms, we started to produce and activate within our community spaces. And that's where a lot of the ballroom kind of relationship comes from in parts of our practice. And yeah, it plays a big role in the legacy of the type of work that we've created. But outside of that context, I think fundamentally because we are all artists and we're all kind of engaged in a different creative process, that those are the things that we try to utilize to stay connected to the culture and to the our peers and the same generation and this next generation coming up as well. And it's ongoing as well. So we're always learning new ways to stay connected to our community. And also just thinking about the times that we're living in, it's been really important for us to kind of withdraw from the internet, even though we started online, and to really just think about how we can be more intentional about what we share with our community and what we share with the broader audience. Because just from being in space with people and being in spaces with communities, our visibility was kind of elevated. And for a long time, we were kind of consumed by a lot of audiences. And I think we're just in a place now as a team of people that we're very mindful of that consumption. And we're very mindful that it's more important for us to make things that we care about for people that we care about. And so now we're just, I think, a bit more purposeful about what we use to engage with our community and our people. Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys. Now I'll switch over to Mareia again. We see Paula, she's here. Hola, Paula. I'm going to ask them how do they come together to create and work as a collective and how collective organizing looks like. Paula, hola, bienvenida. ¿Puedes presentarte y contarnos un poco cómo se juntan en Mareia, cómo deciden trabajar juntos y empezar a hacer su trabajo colectivo y qué tal es ese proceso?
Hola, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Paula Andrea Orozco, soy fotógrafa documental, vivo en Quibdó. En estos momentos estoy en Bogotá, por eso tengo estas prendas. Bueno, yo soy una de las personas que cree mucho en el trabajo colectivo y hace aproximadamente 5 años hago parte de la Fundación Mareia. Para nosotros es muy importante juntarnos desde las diferentes artes. Cada una realiza una actividad distinta y eso es muy valioso. Entonces nos empezamos a juntar, a crear y a proponer. Eso es como lo que hacemos en Mareia. Estamos siempre en las calles, ¿sí? Desde el arte, transformándonos principalmente nosotras mismas. Entonces, creo que cada persona que hace parte de esta fundación cree mucho en lo colectivo, en la juntanza, en estar juntos. Entonces, bueno.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me? My name is Paula Andrea Orozco.
Yeah.
I am a documentary photographer from Quibdó in Chocó. Right now I'm in Bogotá, which is why I'm wearing these warm clothes. In Mareia, we are a group of artists. We work on different things, but we are all committed basically to work on the streets through our different practice. We are all about being together and working together.
We can now see one of the productions made by Mareia. This is a video called Movilización, 8 de marzo.
Tres días antes de morirme, yo me quiero confesar para irme derecho al cielo y no tener que penar, para irme derecho al cielo y no tener que penar. Gloria al Padre y gloria al Hijo. Gloria al Espíritu Santo. Cantemos la
no se cuidaba con ellas, tanto que me pegó una enfermedad en ella y me mató, me mató. ¡Me mató!
Mi jefe siempre me ponía demasiado trabajo, tanto que ni siquiera podía dormir bien. Y a los hombres de la compañía siempre les pagaba mucho más de lo que me pagaba a mí. Y eso está mal.
That was strong. Now I'm going to ask Paula, who I know is the creator of the video, what is it about, to talk to us about it. Paula, sabemos que tú eres la creadora de este video. ¿Puedes por favor contarnos cuál es la intención en esta acción, cómo se realiza y hablarnos un poco en general de la producción de esta pieza?
Bueno, para nosotras es importante primero manifestar que el 8M no es una celebración, sino una conmemoración. Es por eso que en esa fecha salimos con este performance que fue muy disruptivo para la ciudad porque nadie esperaba que eso sucediera y menos saliendo con un ataúd a la calle. Entonces fue muy impactante para las personas y bueno, nos fue muy fuerte porque nos gritaban cosas también. Entonces íbamos acompañadas de compañeros también. Entonces fue una experiencia muy, muy, muy bonita, pero fuerte, muy fuerte. Entonces en Quibdó, en ese año venían sucediendo varios feminicidios y decidimos salir con esta acción a las calles. Cada año Mareia trata de crear un performance y lanzarse a la calle para manifestar diferentes temáticas que tienen que ver con nosotras. Y bueno, hasta ahora este video, bueno, yo realicé unas fotografías y el video al tiempo y realmente ha sido muy impactante para muchas personas porque no creían que en el Chocó habláramos del feminismo y pues Mareia lo pone en la escena todo el tiempo.
Well, for us, it was very important. This was a performance organized on March 8th, and we wanted to present this as a day that is not a day to celebrate, but to commemorate. In Choco, many feminicides have taken place recently, so that day we organized this performance on the streets of Quibdó, and we were carrying a coffin, and it was very disruptive. People in the city did not expect that kind of event to be performed on a day like that. We at Mareia try to organize performances at least once a year, and usually we find them to be they cause a lot of shock in the city. In the right way, I mean.
Now I'll switch over to Will and ask him about the difficulties of collective work. Will, ¿tú puedes contarnos por favor sobre las dificultades y también las cosas buenas de trabajar en colectivo, de trabajar en grupo? ¿Cómo son esos procesos?
Bueno, realmente siento que son más las bondades que las dificultades. Toca decir que las dificultades que hemos tenido como colectividad han sido más en términos como de recursos y en términos de apoyo, entendiendo que Colombia es un país que no ofrece recursos y garantías para los temas artísticos y culturales.
Well, I think that collective practice has more good things than problems. Basically, our problems working collectively have to do with finding the right resources because, of course, in Colombia, it's not hard to find such resources for art practice.
También, evidentemente, somos una colectividad que está integrada por diferentes pensamientos, por diferentes sentires, y eso genera situaciones que pueden ser tensas, pero sobre las que siempre estamos reflexionando, porque parte de nosotros es también poder entender la diferencia y poder aceptarla. Creemos que construir desde el amor siempre va a ser la herramienta para poder avanzar en los procesos, y como fundación, pero también como personas, hemos tratado de llevar esto a la práctica y siempre estarnos comunicando de la manera más asertiva posible para poder subsanar ese tipo de situaciones que se puedan presentar.
Of course, in our collectivity, we have different ways of thinking and feeling, but we think that that is a positive thing. We try to bring all of these differences and tensions and try to use them collectively and purposefully and productively. We think that's an important part of what working collectively is.
Bueno, para cerrar, decir que en estos años que tenemos de integrar esta colectividad, han sido más las enseñanzas, más los momentos bonitos, más los momentos de crecimiento, y agradecemos por eso. Entendemos, como les decía, que el amor realmente es la base de los procesos que nosotros como fundación empezamos y proponemos en la escena en Quito, que es un territorio un poco hostil, pero también hemos entendido que estar juntos va a ser la clave para poder avanzar hacia el propósito que tenemos.
During our years working as a collective, we have had many wonderful moments and many moments of learning. We really believe that working out of love is crucial to the work of our foundation, even though we work in a place like Kibda, which is a bit hostile. So we do think that love is the key to our work as a collective.
Beautiful, thank you. Now I'll switch over to FAFSWAG. I want to ask you guys also about the difficulties and the benefits of working collectively, and how do you as a collective navigate the social and political context of your identity and the work you do?
Yeah, to answer that, I think obviously queerness is an monolith, and this group of practitioners, we all have quite varied backgrounds and access points that we come together with. And I think in doing so, that has been our big strength. I think we've been able to, over the last 10 years, figure out how to navigate and create access points for ourselves in order to create resource and sharing that resource with each other, and moving away from a scarcity kind of mindset and into quite an abundant thinking. And I think by creating an environment of abundance for one another and being able to show up as our full selves in the work and in the process and for community, it's really demonstrated an alternative way and modes of doing, which I think has been a huge strength of ours as a group of creatives together, both individually and collectively.
The difficulties of being I just think about colonization as it's often talked about from an institutional lens that it's something that happened in the past. But we know as indigenous Moana people that we are currently living through systems of colonization that are very real for us every day. And I think one of the challenges is that we're often, as a collective of people, we're kind of trapped in some of those systems and trapped in some of those predetermined ways of thinking and operating. And what I enjoy most about collective practice is the way that you are allowed to be around other people who have disruptive thinking and who don't fit society's expectations and who are considered like outliers or just the rejected people from society, and that even though those are the labels that we might be branded with, that we can still find a common interest together and use that to create momentum and power for change. And I think it's a really powerful thing to be part of a generational shift in the culture and to work actively together as a group of people to do it. Because as individuals, we have a lot of lived experience and skill and knowledge and information that we can share with each other to achieve most of our collective goals. And I say these things recognizing that it's not a perfect system, that we don't always agree as a group of people. In fact, we disagree a lot. And I think that's the value of working together, is that even though we are not required to agree all the time, that we can still have like an objective or still approach the work that we're interested in from a similar principle or a similar value. And that's something, it's actually a privilege that a lot of us have acquired over the length of time that we've been working together as a collective. We started in 2013, and so it's been a long journey, and we've had a changing membership over that time period as well. So we've had people come and go, and every experience and every exchange that we've had from that kind of passing membership has taught us something, and hopefully those people have learned something, and their time spent in the collective has nourished their life or their artistic journey or their social experience. But yeah, there are a lot of challenges working collectively, but there's also a lot of benefit. And I think the biggest challenge is this conversation around resource as well. We exist as a collective because we, as a group of people, as individuals, didn't feel like we had the resources in our life to achieve the goals that we had set for ourselves. And so coming together, we were able to find those resources. And it just says a lot about the country that we live in if collective practice is a thing that people have to do. Because it's actually very common for Pacific and indigenous cultures to work collaboratively, because out of our culture, we come from a sharing culture. And yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge, is that why in this country today are we living in a time where people are under-resourced and they actually, in order for them to achieve their goals, they have to come together as a collective. And I think that's a fundamental question we're always trying to answer through our art, through our activations, through our performances. Because ideally, it would be great if collectives were not needed or required. It's an interesting conversation.
Hello. I think also at the forefront of our practice, it is the relationships. Before art making our community, like we mentioned before, but we're also friends and we have deep connections with each other. And not only is that something that drives and motivates the work, but it's also what influences our decision making. The way that we work together is to center our relationships, and that means to center each other and in the spaces that they're in. So yeah, I think that's also quite political, is even in the space that we're in, as art makers, the thing that we prioritize in not only our conversations but in our methods is the relationship that we have with each other, because that is the first thing that, or the most important thing to us.
Yeah, and just to add to that lastly, I think the thing that we've been actively doing as a group of makers is really trying to decenter the status quo in New Zealand. That is a very white, heteronormative status quo. So it's been about decentering that narrative and recentering, reimagining, revisioning a different version, not even a different version, but a truer version of ourselves and having self-determination in doing so, which I think by default has then empowered the community of Indigenous queer people here in Aotearoa.
Also, that we're just one story in a very vast ocean of particular individual experiences, and that we can't always speak for everybody, because often we come together as a group, so large institutions will expect us to speak on behalf of other communities and other groups of people, and it's just impossible. So while we are very visible and we have this big voice and we like to use it, we can only speak for ourselves, and we can't speak to everyone's lived experience, and I think that's the beauty of like being in a collective as well. Anyone? Thank
Okay,
you.
guys. I love how you pass the mic and we can get to hear all of your voices and opinions. We know it's the midnight over there, it's the morning here, and it's the early afternoon in Germany. So we are coming together. Thank you also to our viewers who are leaving comments on the chat. We will address them shortly. Thank you for that. And now we will we will show one video from FAFSWAG. This is called Fagogo, and forgive me if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly.
Moe i le moa. Ua ngā tete malulu ina le lalolangi. A o te suina mai oi I whafo mai lo manawa. Ua wai ua ina le langi ina ua taia I maa. ma o tu se ina ai I tā ua. O le a o tanu ina lo to ala whanau, ina ia toe foi atu I le ele. Ua osa paia o le pepe o le toto, ma le tama o le palapala. Pea e vai, pea e fia moe ma natu. O lunga o hawai, ua tosi ina I a uli, o lau malu lea. E o mai le aso, o le atu uina lo tula E malolo. O le apa ule la, mangase toto ai le masina. O a o toi upu ia, I e teu I lo fatu, ma lo mama. I tanu mi a o I lalo I fo o vai, I ele, o patu, ma atano. Tu I lunga le nei maunga, o au a matama. Awa, o lo ma o talea.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Can you guys tell us and the audience about this video and its meaning, the message behind these images, please?
Hello. So this work is called Whamomo, which means fable in Samoan, and it's a practice of storytelling. So the story that we wanted to tell in this work was about, well, the question that we had asked was, where was our place as queer folk from the Pacific? And so, due to colonization and the arrival of Christianity in the Pacific, a lot of the knowledge and history of queer folk in our culture was destroyed and forgotten. And so this has, as a result, this has kind of changed the way in which we are seen within our own communities, not only from, I guess, the wider New Zealand community, but also within our own culture and even family sometimes. And so this work was an attempt or exploration into finding a way to find place. And for us, that was about relearning Indigenous knowledge and ideas of spirituality, recreating the stories, and then reimagining ourselves back into our histories and into our futures.
Thank you. Now we will watch another video from Mareia. This is called Chocó Jungle Project.
Me llamo Rita Bermúdez, soy ama de casa. Hoy en este momento pertenezco al grupo de alabado ancestral Las Tejadas. crecí allí desde pequeña, vi que siempre mi mamá, porque esto es una tradición de familia, siempre las tejadas. A nosotros siempre nos decían que para la época de la esclavitud, que era la única manera que los negros tenían para estar juntos cuando se moría alguien, ¿sí? Pero más que todo en sus muertos era donde ellos podían expresar lo que sentían, ¿sí? Y eso para ellos era una felicidad. Y entonces yo creo que de ahí viene la tradición del canto. Cuando se va alguien, dice uno se va porque al más allá es una transición, un paso, se va alguien, entonces ya uno puede como que acompañar al doliente, hacerle un seguimiento hasta la última hora, ¿sí? Y hoy en día nosotras vivimos por los alabados, somos parte de los alabados, nos gusta y es de nuestra cultura, nuestros ancestros. Porque ya la tradición se está perdiendo. Ya la juventud hoy en día no le gusta, ¿sí? No les gusta a ellos cuando escuchan que alguien canta un alabado y dice, ¡ay, está llamando muerto! No, eso no es llamar muerto, eso es nuestra cultura. Y ay Dios, no permitas que el hombre destruya la creación. El mar se está muriendo de triste melancolía, porque los hombres acaban las especies cada día. Si la tradición se acabara, sería muy triste. No sé, como que le falta algo a la gente, le faltaría algo al pueblo y no es lo mismo. En este momento, si el grupo ancestral Las Tejadas no está continuando con la tradición, se acaba porque actualmente en el valle ya casi la gente no está cantando, entonces ya no hay quien siga, entonces actualmente son Las Tejadas que están, ¿sí? Pero si los adultos le enseñan a los niños, la tradición no tiene por qué morir, la tradición continúa. Y no queremos que solo se quede allí como en aprendizaje, ¿sí? Que ellos el día de mañana, cuando falten las adultas, pues ellos sepan sacar la cara y que sea algo que se les quede a ellos, pero que del alma les nazca. Que siempre exista el alabado, que siempre exista el arrullo, que siempre exista la ruca, ¿sí? Los romances, los gualí, que jamás se acaben, ¿sí? Que nunca se acaben.
Paula, te voy a preguntar que nos cuentes por favor sobre este video y más que sobre el video, ¿cómo es el proceso creativo en Mareia para decidir cuándo van a hacer algo, cómo lo realizan y cómo lo van a mostrar al público?
Bueno, este video es de hace algunos años, es en el municipio de Bahía Solano, en el Valle, en el Chocó, sobre el Pacífico, o sea que allá hay mar, ¿cierto? Ellas son las cantadoras, Las Tejadas. Para las personas que vivimos en el Pacífico, los alabados y las músicas tradicionales son demasiado importantes.
So we made this video a few years ago in Bahía Solano on the Pacific coast. And for us who live on the Pacific, on Colombia's Pacific coast, the alabao is a very important tradition.
Mareia apoya este tipo de procesos. Las Tejadas nos enseñan todo el tiempo, todavía existe el grupo y con el paso de los años han venido enseñándole a los semilleros, a niños, para hacer digamos, esa entrega y ese relevo generacional.
We are really supportive of these processes. The Tejada women are keeping the tradition. They continue to work teaching the children.
Desde Mareia siempre tratamos de apoyar a los diferentes grupos artísticos, musicales, de todo lo que tenga que ver con el arte. Entonces, la idea es trabajar en colectivo, apoyarnos y bueno, Mareia siempre está tratando de articularse con otras personas, con otras organizaciones. Bueno, sí.
So we at Mareia are always interested in offering our support and collaborating with people who are working on different artistic practices. So it's always about finding a connection and finding ways to collaborate with them.
Creemos mucho en el rescate ancestral y también en las nuevas propuestas. Es por eso que trabajamos también con personas mayores, pero también le apostamos a la civilización de las propuestas juveniles y todo lo que ocurre actualmente en el Chocó desde el arte.
So we are really committed to preserving ancestral traditions, but we are also interested in new things, in innovation. So we are always working at the same time with people, with the elders of our community. We are also trying to pay attention and support to what the young people are doing.
Bueno, y para terminar, quisiera decirle a los amigos de FAFSWAG que me encanta mucho lo que están haciendo allá al otro lado del mundo. Y bueno, desde acá también le apostamos al afrofuturismo y a las nuevas narrativas para empezar a cambiar los discursos como nos narran a los territorios étnicos.
And to conclude, I wanted to tell FAFSWAG that I really loved the work that you are doing on the other side of the world. We here are also really interested in Afrofuturism and in finding other ways to tell the story, to re-narrate the way that our story is being told.
Thank you. Guys from FAFSWAG, this question comes from the comment section on the YouTube video. We have a lot of comments, not so many questions, but one that rose up was, what comes after the entanglement?
Comes after the entanglement?
Entangle.
Reconstruction.
More entangled.
I personally feel like the entanglement is a lifetime work. Like, I think we're gonna be spending generations trying to untangle ourselves from the systems that came before us, the artists that came before us, and actually the artists that came before us pioneered a totally brand new space for us as a generation of artists. And I think in terms of the entanglement, that's all we can do is leave a better place behind for the next generation. And I think it's I just think it's an ongoing conversation. It's talking and staying connected and working together, and also dreaming together, dreaming of a new world for ourselves and a new future. Anyone want to add to that?
Yeah, I don't think the journey is linear. So I think every time you think you manage to untangle yourself, you find yourself tangled back in there. But I think ultimately it comes down to being able to reimagine and have a big imagination around what is possible through untangling yourself, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Ahora voy con Will. Will, también para ti la misma pregunta que le hice a ellos y es, ¿qué viene después de enredarnos, de este enmarañamiento? ¿Qué sigue?
Bueno, hay algo que se me queda del discurso de la compañera de FAFSWAG y es que el viaje, o en este caso el enmarañamiento, no es lineal. Creo que sigue para Mareia y para Will y para creo que todos quienes estamos en esta dinámica, avanzar con los procesos que tenemos en este momento.
I really like the idea that the entanglement is non-linear. So I agree with it's the same here for us, for me, Will, and for Mareia, that what we have to do is to continue the processes going.
Pero también creo que siguen infinidad de cuestionamientos, infinidad de preguntas y muchas ganas de responder estos cuestionamientos, estas preguntas. Y entonces seguimos articulándonos, seguimos pensándonos qué hacer y repensándonos qué seguimos construyendo en colectivo y pensando en las necesidades que tienen las comunidades en torno al arte y la cultura para poder seguir interviniendo de manera efectiva estos territorios y a estas personas.
But I also think that there are an infinite number of questions ahead, but we feel very excited to confront these questions and to be attentive to the needs of our communities and to how art and culture can alleviate them.
Ya para finalizar, pues cabe destacar que en lo personal ha sido muy grato conocer de FAFSWAG y saber que lo que están haciendo es muy cercano a lo que nosotros hacemos. De hecho, parte de la conversación después del primer encuentro con ellos era con Pau decir, es que a pesar de que estamos geográficamente tan distantes, siento que la energía está en el proceso que debe estar y estamos haciendo procesos en territorio tratando de derribar y reconstruir nuevos imaginarios, y eso es importante que se dé en todo el mundo porque nos hace realmente que lo que estamos haciendo no es en vano.
And to conclude, I wanted to say that I really feel really happy to at seeing how FAF's process and our own are so much in tune, even though they are at such distant locations. We are both trying to knock down imaginary constructions about our territory and build new ones.
Okay, thank you. So to start wrapping up this conversation, to the guys over at FAFSWAG, is there anything you would like to speak about that maybe we didn't ask?
So chance to speak from your hand. I just want to say on behalf of FAFSWAG Arts Collective a big thank you to Mareia and the lumbung team and Documenta 15 for creating a space for us to share our experiences and to share our story with other indigenous people as well. And yeah, I just want to express that we're all extremely grateful. And thank you so much. And we're looking forward to staying connected and continuing these conversations. But thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Paula, ¿hay algún tema o algo que quisieran mencionar que quizá no les preguntamos?
Sobre todo agradecer también por el espacio, por la juntanza, por conectar dos territorios lejanos pero cercanos ahora. Siempre es importante poner la voz, contar lo que estamos haciendo, comunicarlo al mundo.
I also wanted to thank you for creating this space of togetherness that has allowed us to connect these two very distant locations. It's always important for our voices to be heard.
Sí, agradecer también a Más Arte, Más Acción por la invitación y bueno, demasiado increíble conocer personas tan maravillosas como FAFSWAG.
And I also wanted to thank Más Arte, Más Acción for inviting us. It's really amazing to have the chance to meet wonderful people like FAFSWAG.
Thank you. We are definitely stronger together. There's no doubt about that. And we are, we are very distant. We're really close. We can come together in these spaces, hopefully in the physical spaces too. So now I'll hand over to FAFSWAG, and you guys will do a closing ceremony for this space.
Top one.
So top one.
Yeah, these are my backup singers.
And
go.
That was beautiful. Thank you to everybody at FAFSWAG. Thank you, Paula and Will from Mareia. Gracias. Thank you, Alejandra Rojas from Más Arte Más Acción. Thank you to Pac Cruz for the translation. Thank you to Lynn Schaffer. She's the sign language translator. Thank you to our German translator, Lilian Street. My name is Miguel Mendoza. Thank you for tuning in to the 7th and last episode of the Lumbung Context series. Thank you to Documenta 15. Good morning, good night, good afternoon, good evening. Gracias. Ciao.
Dum daga ding dang daga daga dum daga ding dang 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 daga daga dum dang 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 daga daga dum daga daga brang.